And in Heels is a motivational, inspirational, and educational podcast for women entrepreneurs. Let's learn from each other, laugh with each other, and support each other so we can all succeed together. And just remember, women can do anything, and in heels. All right, welcome to today's episode of And in Heels. Today is going to be interesting. I'm Kelly Wagner, one of the now co-hosts of And in Heels, because And in Heels is now hosted by the digital duo, which is myself, Kelly Wagner, and my daughter, Morgan Molinaro, who is also a coworker of mine and helps me run my digital marketing agency. Morgan, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, today's going to be interesting because we're going to reverse roles today. I have had many people tell me I need to tell my story on And in Heels, and it's hard to do when I'm on this side of the table. So we're going to pass the baton today, and Morgan is going to do me the honor of interviewing me so I'm able to share my story as a guest on And in Heels. So Morgan, thank you for doing that for me today. And I'm going to let you take over as the host. So okay. Here we go. Passing the baton, co-host Morgan Molinaro.
Yeah, and I'm excited to do this and let your story kind of shine through And in Heels since we're finally doing this. And I think this one's going to be a really, really great episode.
I'm a little nervous because I've never been a guest. I've always been the host. So bear with me today.
So first and foremost, I guess for anybody who has not watched any And in Heels episodes through our first season, tell us about you. You know, how did you get here today? What made you who you are today? What are your experiences? And obviously you have children because I am one of them. So
AKA mom.
So just go ahead and kick us off with who is Kelly Wagner?
Okay, so in a nutshell, I own Forecast Sunny Marketing, and Morgan helps me run that company with our whole team of professionals that we have working with us. And Forecast Sunny is a digital marketing firm. We're also an inbound agency, and we do all the marketing online. And then through one of my passions, I woke up one morning and it was just a message that came to me through the night and said, you need to do a women's empowerment podcast. Never done a podcast, never been a guest on one, didn't know anything about it. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. It was a learning moment. It was an inspiration moment. So And in Heels was born. And this has been a passion project to this point, but we're learning how it could potentially become a whole business, which I love. And in the meantime, Morgan and I went on a trip together, a learning conference. And on that trip, we had a couple people stop us and say, are you guys mother-daughter? Are you sisters? Which is a compliment to me, but where do you two fit in? And we said, no, we're mother-daughter. We run a digital agency, and hence the little brand, the digital duo, was born. And we're making that into a learning resource brand for businesses that can't afford full agency services and supplying the marketing services. So that's kind of what I'm up to today. And all of the things that we're providing businesses through marketing, through the digital duo and through Forecast Sunny and now this podcast. So a lot of different perspectives going on, but supporting the business community in any way that we can.
That's awesome that you are doing all of that with obviously the help of an entire team.
You're my co-host,
but starting the initial thought. And I think that's where our team works so well together, because you come in and you're like, I have this idea. And then we're
you're not supposed to tell my secrets.
And then your team, makes it happen. So I think it's all, great. And of course with you by our side along the way, but we're fortunate to have you to guide us. We're always on our toes with new things to do. So
that's
amazing.
A visionary side of me. So I should apologize for that.
So what pivotal events or choices have you made on your path of entrepreneurship to, owning a successful business, but then to want to help others have a successful business? Because obviously, as long as I've known you, you always want to help others. So what drives you every day to not only lead a successful company, but then help others to do the same?
Yeah. So I think one of the things in my life that's really inspired me to work with business owners and to really try to impact the lives of others is really what it's about. And that comes down to survival and quality of life, I guess. So growing up, I came from a family with humble background, and my mom was a single mom raising 4 kids. She always made her life enjoyable and fun, but we always lived meagerly. And early in my years, I remember she didn't really have a career. She didn't really have a path. She just did jobs. And jobs create income, but they don't create fulfillment. And I always saw her like wanting for something more. And one day, I don't even remember how. I need to ask her this story. She decided she was going to become a travel agent. And all of a sudden, I saw this passion ignite in her
Mhm.
for travel, and she loved it. And all of a sudden, I saw this mom struggling to raise 4 kids and make ends meet suddenly become this independent, happy person that was able to go on trips because as travel agent, you get a lot of perks and would have never been able to travel otherwise because we were barely making ends meet most of the time. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, she had this career and this passion and this path and a purpose. And that made her just a different person holistically. And seeing that happen to her made me want to always know my path and know where I was going and
Mhm.
always have something like that to ignite me. And then I thought, well, if I could help other businesses do that, marketing is a great way to do that because it helps businesses grow
Mhm.
and it helps them succeed and it makes their lives more fulfilling if their businesses are succeeding. And so that's really where that passion was born from.
Mhm.
Um, and so my need to help others, I think, is one personality. Two, that seeing what that did for my mom and her career. And then three, being able to see other business owners grow and prosper because of the services we offer. That's really what's fulfilling to me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, obviously owning a business of your own, but you haven't always owned a
No,
business.
no.
So, because Forecast Sunny was not born too long ago, our
2017.
digital
Yeah.
marketing agency. So, tell us a little bit about before Forecast Sunny came to life.
Yeah.
We are in Florida, but we were not born in Florida. So,
Right.
obviously living in Illinois. So, prior to moving to Florida in
Yeah.
2016, so our life has obviously shifted, majorly since you had us, and then
Yeah.
to now. So me and my
Yeah.
siblings. So
So my journey has been an interesting one. So kind of clicking on along in life, get married in my 20s, have my kids by 30. I have 3 kids. And as you know, since you're my oldest, and I got to the point in life where, I was working in the financial industry and doing well and economy was good and kids were thriving. And all of a sudden I got an invite to join a business with my sister. And didn't really ever picture myself as a business owner, and this was my first attempt at business ownership. Hindsight provides a lot of clarity, but we went into business together and we formulated this business in Illinois and realized early on owning a business isn't easy, needed marketing, needed resources. I was in a marketing position for the financial industry company I worked for. So I knew marketing, and so I kind
mhm,
of did marketing for that company, and things were just kind of clicking along and life was happening. And then tragically, some things happened within that business that caused the capabilities for hostile takeover to come about with a partner that was invited in, and learned a lot of lessons of being naive, not really understanding business
mhm,
practices, trusting people, putting friendship over business decisions. And before I knew it, I was in a dark, dark, dark place. The business I was a part of and an owner in was under attack. My reputation in the community was under attack. My self worth and how I felt about myself was under attack. And I was my own worst enemy there, and I was being, judged and taken through a trial for something I couldn't even really
mhm,
control, and I didn't understand it at the time. And I asked God many times, "Why are you putting me through this? Why?" I was working and I had 3 kids and I had this beautiful life, and now I'm living in this turmoil of hell. And it was through those darkest days that I found a lot of strength. I realized what I could do as a human. I realized who I really was. And I realized that
mhm,
going forward, I would control my own life. I never would put myself in a position again where someone else could do the things that were done to me and said about me. And so it was through those darkest days, I think I found my strength. So not to victimize myself in the story, but to show that I became a survivor, and not only a
Mhm.
survivor, I became stronger for it. Took many years of healing, many years of self-reflection, came out on the other side of it. And I'm thinking, okay, life is good. My oldest daughter decided to come to Florida for college in
16 we
2016.
moved, yeah.
15, 16, we
Yeah,
started
yeah,
having the conversation. And in
yeah.
2016, she decided to make that move. And we're like, you know what? It's a great time in life to move to Florida. Why not? We always want to do it when we retire, but you're never
Mhm.
guaranteed tomorrow. So why wait? So my husband and I made the very crazy decision to follow our oldest daughter to Florida. Well, that meant ourselves and the other two kids. We weren't going to leave them behind in Illinois. So we moved an eighth grader, a junior in high school, and a freshman in college to Florida. And my husband and I and our dog and my sister and my niece, and we all came down to Florida.
Mhm.
And it was an experience and a journey that I don't know if I could do it again at this age, but I will tell you, it's been the most life-changing, amazing
Mhm.
experience. And moved down here for a job that I thought was going to be my dream job. I recovered from the whole incident, earlier on in 2011. And, I was on a path to forgiveness and recovery and really getting over the past. And I come down here for a job, and my husband gets a job down here. Your dad, finally
Mhm.
finds a job in the construction industry, because St. Louis at that time still hadn't recovered economically from the downturn in 2007, 2008 from the
Mhm.
economy, and the construction industry really suffered. So he came down here and found a great job with a great company, and I had a job with a great company, and it was like, woohoo, life is going to be good again.
Mhm.
And 10 months into that job, tragedy struck, and nothing to do with me, but I had a really hard choice to make. So new ownership came into the company and said, we'd love to keep you on, but at 50% of your salary.
And you're like, "No."
So, but do you leave the
Yeah,
security of the
yeah,
job,
yeah.
or do you go out on your own? I was new to
Mhm.
this area. I only knew a handful of people. My network was in, Illinois, St. Louis, where we were from. And I thought, what do I do? I'm faced with a 50% salary reduction because the new ownership doesn't see my value, or have the budget that the first company
Mhm.
did. Or I decide to listen to my inner self
Mhm.
and be forced back into business ownership, which I didn't want to do because of the first experience. I had
Mhm.
I had considered that taboo and would never go back. But the universe, God, your guardian angels, whomever, send you a whisper, and when you don't listen, they send you a brick upside the head. And when you don't listen, they send you the whole brick wall. And I really fought business ownership for a long time.
Mhm.
But in May of 2017, I just said, I cannot take that offer. And although I appreciate it, and they kept promising growth with the company and we'll get you back where you were, I just couldn't do it. There was something telling me, no, that you've got a
Mhm.
different path out there. You have a different purpose, and it's not here with them. And so I left that company, and thank goodness I did, because I think they closed less than a year later.
Mhm.
So it was not my path, but I met a group of amazing women at that time that wanted to do marketing services, didn't know how to do it. I was invited to an entrepreneur breakfast with a bunch of amazing women, and my new company was born, Forecast Sunny. And thank goodness it was, because it's lent me so many learning opportunities, personally, professionally, growth opportunities that I would have never had. So these dark experiences and these disappointments in my life led me to where I am today, which is on a
Mhm.
completely different trajectory than I could have ever planned in 2017 when we moved here. So thank goodness for the disappointments that have led to opportunities.
Mhm.
And so that's where I am today.
Yeah, and I think it's ironic too that in, just this year, 2023, you were like, "I'm gonna create a women's group," whatever that's gonna look like. Obviously, ended
Right.
up for a podcast for now, and then hopefully in the future will be something
Something
more
more.
and in
Yeah.
person. But it's ironic that that's kind of what kicked you off, was a group of
Yeah.
women that
Yes.
said,
Let's work together.
right, and
Yeah.
how can we do that? And obviously evolved into what became, a digital agency with an entire team, but you never lost your roots, which were that group of women kicking you
Yeah.
off, which some of them in that group you still talk to
Still
today, still do business with
Still do
today.
business with. Yeah.
So,
6 years later, almost 7, I still do
mhm,
business with some of them. And if I don't do business with them, they're in my
right,
professional network
right.
somewhere, as a relationship. That's such a great point. And I think where I've been super blessed is if you would have asked me, you were a freshman in college, Elise, my middle daughter was a junior in high school. Will you work with your two daughters someday? I probably would have said, I don't think so. Because if I worked at that company, you probably would have never worked there with
Right.
me. But because I had the opportunity to start my own company, which I fought and fought and fought, that's a whole nother story. And finally, when I had came to terms with the idea and grasped it and ran with it. Eventually, you found a way to my company. And now Elise, your sister, found a way to the company. So not only do I work with my one daughter, I work with two, which I think is a double blessing. And not only do we work together at Forecast Sunny, but you and I have found a way to develop this digital duo brand that we can help businesses that are struggling or smaller or growing that need marketing resources that can't afford a full agency like Forecast Sunny. But then if we help them long enough and help them get their marketing in order, they can eventually scale and grow and afford Forecast Sunny. So it's all like how all these things intertwined. And then with And in Heels, we can build this community of women that support other businesses, and we can find a way to all work together. Like, it's just been a joy and a blessing, and things keep coming about just out of a thought or a sign or an idea. And I feel like we're under a major change still, something's still evolving, but I'm excited to see what's next.
Definitely. And I think something that, our viewers may want to know, that's kind of a fun fact, but how did Forecast Sunny get its name?
Oh, that's a fun one. So when I was young, like a child, I always wanted to be a weather girl. I thought the weather people were amazing. They got to wear beautiful dresses, mostly women. They got to wear beautiful dresses and makeup and hair, and I'm obsessed with the weather. Fun fact, I would be a tornado chaser if I could. I probably could do that someday. I think you can pay to do that now. But I always wanted to be a weather girl. I thought that was such a glamorous job. And so when I was trying to think of a name for my company, I'm like, well, what does everybody want though? They always want a sunny forecast. Like if you're going on vacation, doing an outing or going to wherever, you always want a sunny forecast. And I'm like, well, sunny forecast, that sounds awkward. And I'm like, well, what does a business owner want? They want their forecast to be sunny. So Forecast Sunny came about, one, because it's a great journey for a business owner to be on, to strive for that, forecast of sunny. Two, I always wanted to be a weather girl. And then three, we located to this beautiful area in Florida because of Morgan's choice of colleges. Thank goodness for that. And so now we live in paradise, that the forecast is sunny 350 days a year, I think. We have a company called Forecast Sunny that's helping business owners reach their sunny forecast. And, I get to give ode and privilege to my past of wanting to be a weather girl. So it was just the perfect name.
Yeah, that's amazing. I always love that story. So in wrapping up today, I think something that obviously we're doing a podcast, so that's an educational piece, but we always like to give back in addition to that. So what do you do to continuously educate yourself, be knowledgeable, whether it's learning about digital marketing or the podcast or, women empowerment or that community atmosphere? What do you do in your personal life to learn?
The one thing that I try to do, and this is the hardest thing I think for me in my business, because when you're visionary, you're always off to the next new idea. So I try to take 15 minutes every single day to focus on lifelong learning, learn something new, whether that's reading a book for 15 minutes, it's listening to someone else's podcast for 15 minutes, watching a video about a topic that I want to enrich myself or learn more about. I try to take 15 minutes every day to learn something new intentionally. And I take 10 minutes every single morning to journal. And when I journal, I don't script, I don't write, I journal. I let my thoughts flow. And for that 10 minutes, I just let whatever comes to my mind, whatever words I hear, I write them down. And I usually find the most profound messages in those journalings. Things that are either subconscious or spiritually, somebody's trying to give me a message, or they're just things I needed to let my brain let out. And that 10 minutes of journaling and that 15 minutes of learning every day, I think are what keep me focused and clear on my path and goals. The other thing is to set a goal and don't stop till you get there. And if you don't set a goal, how are you going to know where you're going?
Yeah.
So those are probably the two things I journal. I learn and I reflect on my goals every single day.
Yeah, definitely. And we really enjoy to do dream boards.
Yes, I love dream boards and
they're
vision
a big
boards.
thing, and making sure that you always have one that's up to date and current to remind you of what you have going on and where you want to go.
And share them with somebody else. Like when we do dream board parties, and we do these probably once a year, we use my dining room table and we put out every magazine we've collected for the year. And even the ones I get in the mail that are junk, I keep them because then we cut them up. But we build dream boards as a family. And I mean a lot, it can be the men in the family, the women, whoever wants to sit down at the table and join. And we all put together dream boards, and at the end of and we make food, and we make it a day. And it's usually in Florida, it's hard to find one of these, but a day when it's either kind of crappy out, the weather's a little cooler, or, but we make time for it every year. And then we share them with each other. So you stand up and kind of present what's on your dream board. And then all year I look at that every single day and think, that's where I'm going. That's why I'm doing, that's my why. That's what I'm doing, what I'm doing. And dream boards can be very, very, very powerful in making your dreams and your goals come true.
Yeah.
Love that idea. And we share them with each other, which makes it even more special.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, to look back and be like, oh, okay, I thought I was going there, but hey, look where I am now. So it's a moment of reflection too, to know, like, you thought you were on a path, but you're not. And that's interesting.
And that cannot be disappointing sometimes, because sometimes what we thought we wanted isn't what was best for us. So if we didn't get something we thought we wanted, it was probably for our best interest. So it's funny how we see how, we are sometimes guided on a different path, but it turned out to be better than what we could have thought for ourselves. Right. So don't be disappointed if something doesn't happen. It just means you're directed to somewhere better.
Right. So on kind of our finale note today,
okay.
What nugget or piece of advice would you give to women entrepreneurs or any entrepreneur that is looking to take their business to the next level of success?
Yes.
What would you say?
So one of my people that I look up to, and I know that he's almost a fictitious character because, I never got to meet him, and his visionary approach to his business and life make him one of a kind. So Walt Disney is probably one of my favorite people that I admire, which is funny because I've never met him. But his work and his mind and his vision was remarkable. And I don't think arguably anybody could deny that. And the risks that he took, but he never abandoned his dream. And one of his sayings was, if you can dream it, you can do it. And although that seems vague, if you think about that, it's how he created Disneyland. It's how he created Disney World almost, the concept of. But if you can dream it, you can do it.
It's
like,
all,
let
it's
that
all
sit
you.
for a minute.
Yeah.
So dream it, put it on your vision board, write it down, know what your dream is, become clear on that. And once you know it, you can do it. Map out a path to get there. And I think that small sentence, if you can dream it, you can do it. Like, that's everything. And to know that the man that said it lived that means even more to me.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because, a little inside joke, I always say, Kelly is Walt Disney and I'm Roy Disney. And if you know anything about Disney, that will make sense to you. But there's clearly a visionary here, and there's clearly one that keeps her on track, and that is me.
So Walt always had to have Roy behind him, pulling him back down from the clouds. That's what Morgan does to Kelly. So yeah, I'm if you dream it, you can do it. And Roy's like, but wait, we got to figure out how to do it and pay for it.
Yeah,
that's the Morgan of the group.
Yes.
So thank you for the comparison.
Yes.
Hey, at least we're the Disney brothers.
Correct,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so
those are pretty big shoes to fill. But I'll
just
take it.
Watch the first episode of Imagineering. It'll all make sense.
Not that we work for Disney, because we don't, but we'd love to someday. Okay.
Right. Or with them.
Or with them.
We're keeping
or with them. Yes.
Well, Kelly, thank you for sharing your story and your inspiration today. It was great to hear your side of it. I'm glad we switched roles today.
Yes.
And can't wait for this to be released so all of our viewers can hear you and not just the guest perspective, but your perspective.
Well,
so
thank you for switching roles with me today and interviewing me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And just remember, women can do anything, and in heels.